Hello. I'm going ahead and starting this live early. I'm hoping to have a little bit of conversation with y'all before we get the show on the road, really. Um, Hi, bro. I hope you're doing well. Get to know. And I think how I will start this off, I will try to play the song that I had written years ago for an ex boyfriend. Well, it's about an ex boyfriend, how he had done me. And sometimes I like to share little things like that. So this isn't copywritten because it's mine. I did it. All right. My friend sang it for me to cheer me up, but this is mine. I own it. If anybody ever wants to use it, whatever, they need to be sure to ask for permission. I don't mind anybody using my videos as a learning tool either. I would prefer people share it and get the word out. Through all this, we can help one another. So I'll go ahead and I would start out by playing the song that I wrote. To go ahead and I hope I don't know if I should do it this way or the other way because I've never tried it. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. I'll do it too. This is called Empty Promises. Oh, yeah, he did. But I'm doing good now. Such a fool. That was a friend of mine, Benny. He lived in the UK. I really appreciate him singing to me the song that I had written. I would always cherish that forever, always and forever. All right. So without further ado, I will share the next screen. Healing our wounds. Abuse affects our lives in so many ways. Abuse is torture, crippling, and debilitating. What advice would you give others? Are you there for the person? Or are you part of the problem since you may have turned a blind eye? Are you claiming to advocate against abuse but condemn the people who tell it and share their stories? Do you want to be part of the solution or part of the problem? Are you an officer of the judicial system not doing your job to help the victim? Your duty is to serve and protect. How do we open the public's eyes so they can acknowledge and feel the need to help protect the children and our citizens? Let's stand united and discuss ways we might heal our wounds. You matter. All right. I hope that y'all are doing great tonight. So tonight I got an interesting story to share with y'all. And this is concerning a young boy, Tate Ethan Buening. He was born February 24th, 2011, passed away August 6th, 2021. Tate was failed by the system in Madison, Alabama. His mother, Kayla White, is living a nightmare with the loss of her child. It is horrendous, everyone, as you know, the loss of a child. And this, I will be sharing screen. This is for educational purposes that I shared. It is not for any type of monetary gain. But right here, we see that mom fought for custody. See right here, crime online. Mom fought for custody, warned officials dad was dangerous before he killed his 10-year-old son. According to court documents, the hearing date was set a month later, a full month later. It was an emergency and utmost importance to bring this hearing to protect the child. So, guess what? The system failed this little boy tremendously. She was trying to keep it a secret and play nice until he could be served on this past Friday after he picked Tate up. But somehow he found out why he had the baby. This is how cute he looked. He did not deserve to be murdered by his father. He was shot. And here is the court document. And the reason it also hits me close to home, not only because this was done to another child. Okay, when I was 2 years old, I want to show you part of my book, what had happened in Morgan County when I was two. Then I'll show you part of my book, what happened when I was 10 years old. And at that time, I was living in Madison County. Okay, this is from my book, Shattered Innocence. It's at Amazon.com. One time, Daddy Charles got out of jail and he was angry. The door was secure. I was around 2 years old. Daddy had a gun and was shooting through the windows. Shards of glass and splintered wood was going everywhere. My older sister pushed me to the floor and laid on top of my small body to protect me. Her family members shared that story with me. That's the only way I knew that that had happened because of it being shared with me. Okay. One thing I see right here, and it's really upsetting to me. This is the father here, Brian Buening, and he's military, PTSD, all that. But I'm not going to go into it because I don't look at him as a hero, even though he served in the military and everything. I do not look at him as a hero when he killed his 10-year-old son. Then he committed suicide. See, somebody wrote he was preceded in death by his son, Tate Ethan Buening. Yes, preceded in death because Brian Buening murdered him and then killed himself. And then these friends go on to say how this dad was a good dad. Right here it is, set right here. It said Brian's neighbors, co-workers, and friends described him as a loving father and good friend. Brian was a disabled veteran who struggled with PTSD and severe emotional distress. Yes, he did a lot of things. He should be commended on that. Yes, but when you go and you endangered your child, you murdered your child. That is not. See, it said they described him as a loving father and a good friend. A loving father does not kill his child. I don't care what y'all would have to say about PTSD and stuff. Well, I have PTSD. I don't go around trying to kill my kids. Further thought in my mind. If I ever thought about doing harm, it was self harm for myself. This is ridiculous, y'all. And then, when it goes like this, the funeral set for 10-year-old Tate Buening, family requested letters. But at the time, they were doing a special thing where friends and all can write letters. And I think it might be a good idea. I don't know if that's the same address that the mother would like, but maybe it'd be nice for her to get letters from people supporting her in this endeavor. See, and right here we got Madison County Sheriff's Office identifies victims of Harvest child murder suicide. Well, that's Madison County. That's where I lived when I was 10 years old and my daddy played his hide and go seek game. But the sheriff's office identifies victims of Harvest child murder suicide. Looks like a good neighborhood here. The Madison County Sheriff's Office identified the victims of Friday's murder suicide in Harvest. Officials identified the offender as 37-year-old Brian Buening and the victim as 10-year-old his 10-year-old child, Tate Buening. Officials say Brian was the child's father. Tate was a student at Endeavor Elementary School for several years. He had recently been moved to Athens City Schools, but his elementary school says he will always be an Endeavor Cub. The school made a post on social media saying Tate was a bright light. I had described him as simply sunshine coming down the hallway. Other staff members have stated that he always had a hug for them and was kind to everyone. He always exemplified our Endeavor expectations of being kind, safe, and responsible. Our hearts are broken. Tate had such a bright future, and we are saddened that it was taken from him at the age of 10 years. Excuse me. that little pop up there. And so I want to go on next to talk about these two women who are standing up and telling their stories. They say the system failed to protect their children from violent men. Now they're trying to reform the system. This was written September 12, 2022. And if you look, it says Mississippi CIR.org news. There's also at the very bottom down here where you can sign up for their newsletters, which I would advise everyone to do to keep in the know about what's going on. This one is Kayla Tate White. This was the one that lost little Tate Buening of Madison, Alabama, and Allison Kessler of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, lost their children to murder-suicides at the hands of their former intimate partners, despite their desperate pleas for help to the courts and law enforcement. Now, these two grieving mothers are fighting to get legislation passed in their respective states that would protect other children in domestic violence situations. We all stand against child abuse. We stand against pornography. We stand against violence. These children had lost their lives at the hands, and the government wasn't doing nothing to protect them, even though you'll find more about the story from the very beginning. Like in Allison's case, she read the text again on her smartphone. I want to see your head separated from your body. She swallowed hard. That text on May 19, 2020 was one of many frightening messages she received from John Stacy, the father of her 4-year-old son. He had stalked her on social media, and when she blocked him, he created fake accounts to harass her. He even put a tracker on her car to watch her every move. Now she had no choice. Now she had to act. She drove to the Broward County Judicial Complex in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and filed a domestic violence protection order against Stacy. She knew she had to protect Grayson, which I'm sure a lot of y'all heard of Grayson's law that was trying to ban an act, and now it's failed, but they're trying to get it back worded correctly, as you will see later on described in this article. Kayla Tate Buening had plenty of reasons to worry. On the way home on New Year's Eve, 2011, her husband, Brian Buening, grew increasingly angry, cursing her violently. He was now slurring his words, fully drunk. He called her a loser for refusing to celebrate with him and his friends at the party they had just left. Back home, he staggered out of the van and grabbed their son, Tate, from his car seat. She followed close, worried he might drop their 9-month-old. After putting Tate to bed, he grabbed his gun and ordered Kayla into their bedroom. He locked the bedroom door so that she couldn't get out. She was afraid to yell for fear of escalating the situation. Things crashed violently against the door as Brian rampaged in silence. Kayla knocked on the door. Brian, she implored, you're scaring me. Shots rang out, and then she heard an air piercing scream. She broke the locked doorknob and saw a puddle of blood. That was her turn to scream. Now, chapter 1, on to Allison's story. Now, these ladies are very courageous. They are letting us know what happened and how the system failed them and what avenues they went to try to protect their children. In Allison's case, it began as a fling, a brief night in New York City in 2016. It didn't mean anything. She and John Stacy never dated nor had plans to. When Allison found out she was pregnant soon after the fling, John wanted her to get an abortion. She refused. And when Grayson was 6 months old, John filed for joint custody in Florida's 17th Judicial Circuit Court. The move surprised Allison given his previous actions. The court ordered them to split custody 50-50. It's Florida's law unless there are compelling reasons that disqualify one of the parents. At 4 years old, Grayson Kessler loved to laugh. He laughed so much as a baby that Allison gave him the nickname Gigs. I used to be called Gigglebox because I used to giggle a lot too. So that kind of reminds me of that. He loved to tell jokes that made others laugh with him. His smile was radiant and infectious. Everyone wanted to be around him. He was fearless, eager, and excited about whatever he did. Before he knew how to swim, Grayson jumped into a pool. He went down water slides when other kids his age were frightened to do so. He was passionate about school and he loved to learn. He never wanted to miss a single day. Wow, that's awesome. Kayla. Kayla and her future husband Brian started dating in their 20s. She was a college student at the University of Alabama. He was an Army veteran with combat experience, serving 2 terms in Iraq. Kayla graduated at 23 in May 2010. Next month, she found out she was pregnant. Soon enough, Brian began acting strangely. He became uncommunicative and stopped talking to her altogether. His behavior scared her. Tate was a bright spot in her life. Kayla thought her son would be a comedian one day. He loved telling jokes and hear laughter sing from those around him. Before he could speak, Tate would tumble around in a crooked somersaults and attempted cartwheels, waiting to hear others laugh. Oh, just thinking about that really warms my heart and tickles me just thinking about it. Once he learned to speak, he would tell jokes whenever the opportunity arose, repeating them again and again, even when they lost their humor to others. At 10 years old, Tate learned to swim, play basketball, draw, and play video games. That's like a lot of 10-year-olds. They love to play video games and sports, basketball. Um, and I bet I would have liked to see some of his drawing and stuff. He was bold and daring. He would jump off the highest diving board at the pool and go down water slides head first. Oh man, he had more courage than me even as an adult. Tate was good natured. He loved to make people feel good. Tate told his mother that if he won the lottery, he would buy a limo to pick up homeless people in the city. Wow. He was an awesome young man. Wow. He dreamed of taking them to a mansion and giving them a banquet to give them health and strength so they could have the potential to live forever. He told his mom multiple times each day how beautiful she was and how lucky he was to have her. This is a picture of them together, the mother and the son, Tate and Kayla Tate White. There was trouble at home in their young marriage. Brian's walls started coming down, and Kayla learned who he really was. He would throw things at her, such as keys and TV remotes. He was an aggressive driver with road rage tendencies. If he didn't like how others were driving, he would slam on his brakes or cut them off. Kayla was constantly terrified that there would be a violent incident. Brian had his demons. He'd been deployed twice to Iraq, the first time from 2004 through 2005 with the 58th Infantry. He then began training in explosive ordnance disposal. Ordnance. The second deployment as an EOD sergeant between November 2007 and January 2009 earned him the Bronze Star for meritorious service. During that deployment, he responded to over 150 combat missions with no injuries to anybody in his unit, despite direct enemy contact on more than 18 separate occasions. He was a disabled American veteran who struggled with PTSD and severe emotional distress. He talked constantly of suicide and had made multiple attempts. His mood swings and violent tendencies formed a dark cloud over the family. Yeah, I know a lot of military people have PTSD from things that happened, but still, there's no excuse for what he had done to that child. In chapter two, when right here with Allison, she parked the car, took a deep breath before she walked into the Broward County judicial complex to file for a domestic violence injunction against John in the county's 17th District Circuit Court. She had just dropped her son off at John's, and she was hoping it might be the last time. She was never happy, with a 50-50 custody arrangement given John's increasingly erratic behavior. Her main concern was to protect her son. If her filing was approved, Allison would be escorted to John's rental apartment by a police officer to pick up Grayson. If denied, Grayson would stay with John. Allison walked inside the judicial building and learned the news. Her heart sank. The injunction was denied. The court ruled that there wasn't enough evidence, and the abuse wasn't directed at Grayson, it was directed at Allison. Tired and weary, Allison drove home. Her thoughts raced and she panicked for Grayson's safety. She struggled to sleep at night. Allison learned the next day that Grayson never arrived at school. She thought nothing of it. Perhaps John took the day off from work to spend with Grayson since he had custody. She thought that was his prerogative. Allison texted John asking why Grayson never made it to school. Allison waited all day, but she never received any text back. The next day was Allison's turn to be with Grayson. She called his school around 8 a.m., asking if he were there. Grayson was missing. Her heart skipped a beat. There was an ominous quarrel with Brian, Taylor, and Tate were at a friend's house in New Year's Eve. Brian was 27, Kayla was 25, and Tate was 9 months old. I guess that's where they're talking about where he got mad because of her not partying with him. I guess he got mad about her not getting drunk and having the baby around. The drunken binge proved a catalyst for Kayla's worst nightmare. It was at home. Brian locked her in the bedroom when the shot rang out, and she was forced to batter down the bedroom door. There she found Brian lying in a pool of blood. He had attempted to kill himself with a shot to the head. It didn't work. Brian survived though paralyzed in most of his limbs. Kayla stayed by his side to help him rehabilitate. For nearly a year, Kayla drove him everywhere and took care of him, while also taking care of Tate. Brian eventually healed so he could walk with a limp. But one critical thing, Brian's violent tendencies, y'all see here, hadn't changed. Things continued downhill, and Brian and Kayla separated in 2014 and divorced in April 2015. For Brian to retain custody, he had to go through counseling, multiple drug tests, and other steps to prove himself safe to be with Tate. Despite these precautions, he remained unstable. He cursed Kayla in messages, threatened to kill her. He abused alcohol while he had custody of Tate. He withheld child support. He once sent Kayla a text message that said, "I hope you die soon." Other threats followed. In June 2021, a friend advised Kayla to file a protection order against Brian for herself and Tate. She immediately inquired to the Madison County Sheriff's Department, Madison, Alabama, and was advised against it. Of course, y'all always advised against it. Oh, man. Y'all, when I go to tell you what happened. The official line was that protection orders can muddle custody issues in cases of split custody between parents. An arrest warrant for Brian might be more plausible, she was told, but Brian's abuse wasn't physical, and his abuse by texting didn't meet arrest warrant standards. Well, there's threatening to do bodily harm. That should be good enough. Excuse me. Frustrated, on July the 9th, 2021, Kayla filed for an emergency hearing in Madison County Family Court in the 23rd Judicial Circuit District that would reevaluate Brian's fitness to continue joint custody. But since family court only meets once a month, that meant she had to wait until August the 9th for an emergency hearing. Until then, Brian would keep his custody rights, a thing that gave Kayla spasms of fear. On August the 4th, Brian walked out of an Academy sports store with his newest purchase from their gun section. Oh, man. So then, when you go back to Allison's story, when she was harboring fears for her child's safety, now Grace and 10 wasn't at school, and John wasn't answering her text messages. Frantic, she telephoned the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. She explained what had happened and asked for an officer to meet her at John's apartment. As she floored her car, her mind raced. Grayson was her whole world, and nothing outside the world mattered. When she arrived at John's apartment in the Los Olas by the river complex, a gated community, the security guard refused to let her in, despite how many times he had before. Police went ahead of Allison to knock on John's apartment door. No one answered. He came back to Allison after 5 minutes, saying they'd learned nothing, but she was persistent. It's supposed to be her day with Grayson. She showed police the court-ordered agreement form. Perhaps, she feared, John had kidnapped Grayson and taken him to his hometown in New Jersey. Allison drove home and had her lawyer file an emergency pickup order with the circuit court. That way, if Grayson was found, he would have to be returned to Allison immediately. Despite the red flags, the judge denied the emergency order. A police officer told her not to worry. Grayson was with his father, and fathers don't harm their sons. Nothing would happen. Allison frantically tried to get a wellness check from Grayson. She called the Broward County Sheriff's Department, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, and Child Protective Services over and over. She was desperate to get to anyone who might help her learn where Grayson was. She told whoever picked up, I believe my child is harmed inside his father's apartment, and he could be locked inside. Cops knocked on John's door several times, but since there were no answers, they declined to enter. You can't just break into someone's door. You can't break, excuse me. You can't just break someone's door down. One cop told her it's a liability. One of John's neighbors called Allison and let her know John's car was at the apartment complex. She reached the cops again, but an officer told her no one will be available to check on Grayson until the next day. Allison would take no for an answer. She opened her laptop to Google, seeking the owner of John's apartment. She found the contact information and learned the only person with a spare key lived in Miami, about an hour away. Allison kept fighting. She knew if she should get in contact with a locksmith, perhaps she could get permission from the owner to access the apartment. She got the approvals she needed and got the police on the phone. It was 10 p.m. when Allison coordinated with Fort Lauderdale police and the locksmith to meet at John's. Around 11:50 p.m., she got a text saying police and locksmith were at John's door. She wanted confirmation that John and Grayson weren't there. She truly believed John had kidnapped Grayson and had taken him elsewhere. 5 hours went by, no word. Allison sat in her closet, hugging her knees to her chest, weeping for Grayson. At 11:50 p.m. on May 21st, 2021, Fort Lauderdale police waited in the 75-degree heat as the locksmith worked the apartment's doorknob. The door creaked open, and they walked inside. A gun was on the floor near two bodies on the couch. The metallic odor of blood lingered in the air. Oh, but he won't hurt your son. No need to worry. He's the father. He won't do it. I think a lawsuit's in order here, y'all. I think they're just as responsible for not listening and going to check on it. There's so many cases where this kind of thing happening, and they just want to turn their back and act like nothing at all. Now going back to Kayla and Tate's story, on Friday, August the 6th, 2021, Kayla pulled into Brian's driveway in Madison County, Alabama, to pick up Tate. Typically, he would simply come out at the honk of a horn and hop in her car. That way, she didn't have to encounter Brian. This time, Tate didn't come out. Kayla called the Madison County Sheriff's Department to request a wellness check. Y'all, this really got me upset when I was learning about this earlier. The deputy arrived. Upon hearing the circumstances, he declined to get involved. Kayla pleaded with him to reconsider. Tate's safety was at an issue, you know. You can't go in as easily as I can, Kayla recalls the deputy saying. She tried to get explaining that relations with Brian were toxic and she had received death threats from him. She feared her approach to the house could set him off. The deputy still demurred. Kayla wasn't to be deterred. She walked tenderly, walked towards the door and rang the doorbell. No answer. She tried the door handle. The door was unlocked and opened easily. Walking inside, she noticed all the lights were out. She called for the officer to come. She walked ahead of him through the house. When she got to her son's bedroom, she saw him. I couldn't stop screaming. His body lay next to his father, and had killed him in a murder-suicide. You know, these kind of things, they happen too often. I knew that I get I knew that I get emotional over this. Boy, excuse me. Hello, everyone. Please forgive me for getting so emotional over this, all right? But this should never have happened. Both of them kids were killed senselessly. The mothers had asked for help. I myself, like I said, my daddy used to do things to me. He even shot at me. Oh boy. Y'all give me a few minutes to catch my breath, all right? I'm sorry. All right. I'm going to go to a story that's in my book too concerning the other instance of daddy's shooting at me so that y'all will be more aware of it. And as I said, this was based in the same county. This happened in the same area as Tate's. And then the cops did nothing. Matter of fact, my twin sister was in a room with me, and she said that we, our school was really close to a road, and back in the 70s, cars were bad about backfiring. So whenever I heard the backfire, all of a sudden my PTSD kicked in or something. She said all of a sudden that I would take off like a bat out of hell, and there was no stopping me. They had to get different people to go on the search for me, and they would find me several miles away, walking around in a fugue type of state because I really thought I was being shot at again. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again so that y'all could see. And I shared y'all where y'all could see and read along with me right here in my book so you know what I'm talking about. All right, allow. Okay, and I called this was a chapter, it says, uh, section that said Dad's version of hide and go seek. Wanted this to be hard to read and understand. It was difficult living it, but validates I had God watching out for me. Although the cruelty had stopped, my life was spared. When I was 10 years old, my dad came into the girls' bedroom. There were four of us girls sharing one bedroom, okay? We all shared a bedroom as the boys. Daddy Charles walked in with a 12-gauge shotgun welded at his side. I thought, oh no, here we go again. Dad replied, who's ready for hide and seek? If I see any of you, I will shoot at you. I thought one day someone is going to get killed. I believe Dad recovered so well by claiming it was an accident, saying I shot a squirrel or another animal, but Darlene got it away. That sort of excuse. We all ran and hid. I was not sure where everyone else hid. Often wondered where they hid because they hid so well. I ran and hid in a garden behind a hard dirt mound. Dad was chasing Sue, that's my stepmom, around the house while shooting into the sky. Sue was laughing gleefully as he was chasing her and shooting upwards with his 12 gauge. I briefly felt safe. It grew deathly quiet. I wondered where Dad was. I wondered if he was close to me. I prayed he got his mind on something else so this crazy deadly game would be over. I looked up from behind the hard dirt pile. I did not see Dad. I drew in a deep breath as I laid my head down onto the ground. My heart racing wildly. I was so thankful he was not around. I was thankful he did not spot me. I knew he always found me first. A few minutes later had passed, in which it felt like an eternity. I decided to look up. Oh no, Lord, please protect me. Dad saw me. He turned towards me and aimed the shotgun at my direction. I was praying hard, y'all. I knew I was dead. The next thing I knew, dirt went all over my body. I was shaking fearfully. After the dust settled, I noticed a rock that was right in front of my face. The dirt had it covered. The rock saved my life. I knew it was God who protected me. Oh no, he's reloading while coming in my direction. It felt like everything was in slow motion. Dad was still approaching me while reloading his 12 gauge. I knew I was dead. Something told me not to run. I was to look him right in the face while I was approaching him. So I stood up and did as his inner voice was instructing me to do. I could not feel my legs or my feet under me. I felt as if I were floating. It felt like something was around me protecting me. I kept thinking, do not turn around and run. That is what he wants me to do, so he can shoot me in the back. There was nothing to run and hide behind anyway. I continued walking to him while staring into his eyes. I felt no matter what, I was dead. I felt I'd be shot regardless. I walked on up to him as he said, expletive. I wanted you to run so I could shoot you in the back. Dad turned his back towards me and said, I'm going to hunt one of your siblings. I need to kill something today. Excuse me. I was scared and shaking all over. Dad turned his back towards me. A few seconds later, he tackled me. He forced me to have sex with him. At least the other kids were safe momentarily. The craziness ended briefly. Okay. So I'm sorry, everyone. This really, I had to tell my story, because this happens too often in our life. Too many kids are being done in these ways, sexually and all. And every day I wondered if it was the day that they were going to actually kill me. It was really hell. But so this story that I had to share today hit close to home because I lived in Madison, Alabama when this stuff was going on with this guy, this little boy. You know how this affects me? The system should have done change by now and protected these kids. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Catlin. And it does tear at my heartstrings. I knew that I was going to end up crying no matter what. But I told people that I would be emotional. And they said, well, just be calm. And I said, well, I got to be who I am so that they'll know what I'm saying is honest. I got to be truthful. I got to be myself. The word does need out. And y'all are free to use my video and get the word out if y'all would like. And I hope y'all don't see me as being a crybaby or squaw baby or nothing, but the pain from this and seeing other kids being tortured and murdered. I'm just lucky. Well, I was blessed because God protected me. Because my stepmom even would hold my head down in a sink full of water. She said, I stopped your temper tantrums when you were 4 years old by holding your head down in a sink full of water till you went unconscious. Then I'm thinking, okay, if I lost consciousness, my head was underwater. How did I not die? How did I not drown? The only explanation is God Himself protected me. That's the only explanation I've got. So Does anybody have any questions with what I had read? I don't mind answering any questions. It's these kind of things Judy talked about. And like I said, my sister said that when I ran off, and then they had to bring me back and said that a police officer had came to the school, and I was 10 year old, and my siblings had said that my dad would shoot at me. The officer noticed me with all kind of welts all over my body and everything, which my siblings said told him that he used whips and stuff on me also. And you're welcome. And the police took me home to where Dad was, and Dad said, "No, she fell in some blackberry bushes." And I can remember the cop telling me he threatened me and told me that if I ever tell my story, if I ever say that my daddy ever abused me again, they're going to do something to me. That made me afraid of telling. Then to find out later on that I was being trafficked into child pornography, and it was by police officers. So it's crazy. Alabama state troopers. Well, one of them was the state trooper. His daddy had an option, and the back room was used for hidden options, so to speak, if you get my drift, to be selling children. As the front auction was used for normal things like furniture, whatever, antiques. And I often wondered why Daddy would only take me, and me have to wear a dress up so pretty, like a little doll, you know. Later on, I got the answer to that when I was doing genealogy when I was married, and that same state trooper, I met him, and I had really blocked all that out of my mind, right? And then for him to say, "I remember you," I said, "From what?" He said, "From all the child porno." He said, my daddy had over 300 of them, and you were in the majority of them. He said, "I still get excited today when I'm thinking about doing you." Like, what? Well, Kathleen, all abuse is bad no matter to what. We can't never really say one was worse than others or nothing because abuse is abuse and it's totally wrong. Yes, it's very sick, very, very sick. There was nobody I could turn to. And now, whenever the police come around, I don't still, you can't trust them because I still try to tell them about things because there's a guy across the street that's homeless that threatened to pull down a guy's pants and do him in the rear till he bled. And I called the cops on that. And they came and said, "Well, he's mental, so it's okay for him to do that." Called another time, he threatened to kill me, threatened to knock me to the ground just for walking in my own front yard. He's threatened other kids walking in the front yard. I called about that. Cop said, "Well, that's okay. He's mental." And I kept wondering, what are they waiting for? What are they going to do if he actually does kill somebody? And I did end up in the hospital because of his loud loudness and everything. And thanks to our friend Aaron. Exactly. Trauma is trauma. It is something that never should have been done in the first place. A child is a gift from God, their treasure. They are not to be used as men's, you know, as their free will on what they want to do. Like so many people say, you're my property. People aren't property. People are people. They're individuals. You might have a daughter. You love her. She's your daughter. You treat her right. You treat her with respect. You treat her with love, gentleness, kindness, and you protect her. You might have a son. And I'm sad to say that one of my sons was messed with as well. I prayed to God that I would have boys, so I didn't want to have a girl and her be messed with, right? Then God gave me boys, but then one of the boys was messed with, and that opened my eyes that boys can be messed with also. Catlin, please remember too that you are worthwhile. You are worthy. You are a good lady. You're worth being valued, respected, cherished. And if any of y'all ever want to talk, I got my Facebook page, and it's Darlene J. Clark. Feel free to hit me up anytime. I'll try to get back with you as soon as I can. But of course, sometimes I need a break. Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. Appreciate you so much. You know, a lot of times when we were growing up too, when we were abused, did you notice how they basically we lose our voice? We're not able to have emotions. We're not able to cry. I give you something to cry about. All those type of things. It's crazy. Like you're already giving me something to cry about, dude. That was a nervous laugh. I'm sorry. See that Tate Ethan Buening. And one thing else I've gotten in my book too is where my stepmom held me down while her son raped me and I got pregnant. Awesome. Awesome. That Leah, that's great. I need to follow you as well. Is everything okay, Aaron? Of course, family first. That's the utmost. But is your son okay though? Oh man, I hate bullies and crap that people try to pull. Hey, Warrior Nine, how are you doing? So glad to see every one of y'all. If anybody's got any type of questions, and you can always go back and watch the video because I do have, like I said, part of my book in there, and I'm reading it to y'all, let y'all know how this guy's case right here, Tate Ethan Buening, is so similar to my story. That's a love, y'all. Outlaw trucker, I got some chili I made. I'm glad you caught it too, Catlin. I appreciate that. Thank you. But sometimes we have to express our pain to try so that we can make a difference, so that some of these others don't have to have the pain that we endured. Some people would just speak up. This is that crazy case that happened over there in Franklin, Tennessee, where is anybody else from Tennessee here besides me? What would y'all say if y'all were shopping and you had an 8-year old? Cool, I'm in Pulaski area, and you had your 8-year old daughter, which is older, of course, and she's sitting in the shopping cart, and you got your back turned because an 8-year old they got more. It's different than turning your back on a 2-year old or 5-year old or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But she was in the shopping cart and she was reading a book. Then all of a sudden, a guy walked up to her and put his finger to his mouth, going shh, and then started turning the grocery cart, the shopping cart, towards him, pulling it away from her. Oh wow, close to Rogerville, huh? I'm way down in about an hour south of Nashville. Oh man, I would too. Boy, what did she do later on? Say something like, "Well, you should know better. I'm the grandma, so it's okay for me to go ahead and grab." No, it's not neither. But you know what the cops had said about that stranger doing what he did whenever the girl started screaming? It had not been for the girl screaming, "Mom, mommy, mommy," and the mom turned around and that there was a guy standing there, and he said, "I shouldn't have done that." Of course, he shouldn't have done that. Now he's busted. He was trying to kidnap that girl. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to endure that as well, Catlin. My mom used to get mad. My supposedly birth mom used to get mad at me because I would never call her mother, and I just it was kind of strange. I would think to myself, even at 11-year old, I was thinking, "Well, you know what? You don't deserve to be called mother." Oh boy, and a lot of adults could easily grab a kid like that too. like your mother did. I had a neighbor watching my youngest son while I went to do a little bit of house cleaning. She said she was going to he was going to keep an eye on him. Well, when I went back outside, none of them was around where I could find them. And I went over to his house and he said, well, I came inside. And so he said he just left him outside, but then I couldn't find my son anywhere. And he was 2 year old. I panicked. What had happened was my ex husband's brother saw, it went past where we lived on his bicycle. And my son followed him and went down the busy road and followed him all the way and was over there. Well, they got mad because I went over there and got him, and I said, "You're coming back home." They said, "Well, he should be able to stay here. You know, he's my grandson." I said, "He's got to learn. Only when he's allowed to come over, he can come over. He's not supposed to just walk off and me not know where he's at." I was mad. That's right. They won't be able to run, you know. Just like one time when I was in Athens and I had said two other kids in a cart. Well, three kids in a cart. My son and two of my nephews, my sister's kids, in the cart too. And I was pregnant with my youngest son. And a guy just walked up to me and grabbed my arm and said, "You're going with me." And he had a firm grip on it. And I was scared. I didn't know who the stranger was. And finally, I agreed. I said, "Okay, I'm going to go with you. Let go of me." So when he let go of me, I just took off running and screaming, trying to, and to my dismay, I didn't hardly see anyone around where I could run towards. I just still ran and screamed. But that was enough to deter the guy to run the other way and leave. Oh, yeah, that's okay with me too. That whenever the last time I talked to my mom, my birth mom before she died, was around 2002, 2003, something like that. 2001, 2002, 2003, something like that. Can't say the exact year. But I called up and I thought, well, it's probably high time that I just forgive her, let bygones be bygones. So I called her up and she goes, "Hey, are you showing men your naked body and prostituting yourself?" I said, "No, Mom. I'm an adult. I have a choice now." She said, "Well, you were born to be a prostitute. You were born to show your naked body to men." I said, "No, Mom, I'm an adult. I have a choice now. I choose not to do that." She said, "I wish I would have killed you when you were a baby like I wanted to." And I went click, and I never spoke to her ever again. Yeah. Well, Mom, the first time about the sexual abuse that I told y'all about, the very first time, she had put my naked body on the kitchen table when I was 2 years old and told me I better not cry, I better lay there, that the guy gave her 30 to $35 and he used a beer bottle on me. And I had to just lay there and take it, y'all. So, y'all, we do got to speak out for kids. People like that do not need to be parents. You see something, say something. Oh, yeah, but you know what I tell people now, Catlin, when I see that verse in the Bible, about honoring our father and our mother? I said, remember, there is another verse in the Bible. It says, honor thy father and the mother in the Lord. That means if your parents are not telling you something that's right to do, that means you shouldn't be doing it. And got on the preachers that said, preach the Bible the way it's supposed to be preached. Your parents told me to go out and shoot and kill somebody. That does not mean that I need to get out there and shoot and kill somebody just because my mother and father told me to. It's probably, were y'all known as the scapegoat, or were y'all what part of the family were y'all? Exactly. Our parents are to be our protectors. And then we learn at early age, that they're not protecting us. And then we see that law enforcement aren't protecting us. And then we see that the government aren't protecting us. It's like, what do we do, y'all? Now we can be a force and really get some work done to protect the kids today based on what we've been through. There's been so many adults that I have seen that have said, yeah, well, I was sexually abused, but I'm just letting it go. Just let it go. Don't talk about it. Don't just. And I'm like, excuse me. That's what the problem is. Well, you know what? That's what she. That's. Hey, look at the source that said it. She don't seem like she was a very good source herself. So look at the source. You ruined her life, but it seemed like instead she was ruining your life. But everything's not your fault. But they did blame you. They blamed me. They wanted us to bow down to and not ask questions, do whatever they say. We're not allowed to cry. Exactly. I did read her. Oh man, that's horrible. Even with the things that were done, like to me, I would not inflict that upon my kids. You have a choice. You have a decision. Right. Exactly. Yeah, the Lord don't like it about anybody being hurt. I love this one Bible verse. Let me try to put it across here that I hope I didn't delete it out. Can you see that verse right there, y'all? It were better for him that a millstone were hanged around about his neck, and he cast into the sea, that he should offend one of these little ones. I really like that Bible verse, y'all. I am so proud of y'all. I am so proud of y'all. Yeah, the Bible does speak about, helping the orphans and the widows and all this, but there's been so many people. That's awesome, Aaron. That is wonderful. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like the other one says, because I got two different verses here. I got that one in Luke, and I have this one in Mark right here. Mark 9:42 said, "And whoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone be hanged or hung around his neck, and he cast into the sea." So guess what? For a lot of parents, that tells us that we're not doing what God would want us to do. Excuse me, the reverse roles. They're not doing what's right. Thank God. Praise God to that. Y'all, and I know the only reason I survived was because of God's grace and mercy. Um, I had hit a bad dilemma a couple months ago that sent me basically to my bed and made me question whether or not I should be telling my story or not, because I was told by churches around here that sharing my story, I was blaspheming God. Yes, I thank you all for subbing and being here. Thank you so much. And one elder had said, if you attend our church, you need to um, do 100% what we say, and you need to stop producing your book, stop helping others with your story. You need to 100% be silent. So I basically stayed in bed and mulled over that and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, that is not what God wants me to do. God wants me to get this out there because this is happening too often. Thank you so much, Caitlin. You are as well. All of y'all are. Y'all are all warriors. Yes. I don't know if I'll be able to tell this joke I had heard the other day. Y'all please bear with me. Let's hopefully I can, okay? Hey, on the first day, God went ahead and he made a dog. And he told the dog, he said, "You are to stay on the porch and you are to bark any time anybody passes by or anything passes by, you are to bark." He said, "I'll give you 20 years to live." So the dog said, "But I don't want to labor 20 years. Just give me 10 years and then um, I give you back 10 of the years, Lord." And he said, "Okay." The next day, God made a monkey. He told the monkey, "You're to entertain people for 20 years, and we'll give you 20 years for entertaining." The monkey said, "20 years to labor entertaining without having anything for myself? I think that I just want 10 years and I give you back 10 years." I said, "Okay." Well, then the next day, he made a cow and he says, "I'll give you 40 days where you can have calves, you give human milk, food to eat, such and such." Cow says, "That's too much for laboring and all. How about I'll take 20 of the years and then give you 20 of the years back?" God said, "Okay." Well, the next day he made man. And God said, "Well, I'm going to give you 20 years and I'm going to let you enjoy your life." Man said, "That's not enough. That's not enough time." He said, "Well, God, how about giving us 10 years that the dog didn't want, 10 years that the monkey didn't want, 20 years that the cow didn't want?" And God said, "Okay." So that's why at first, the first 20 years, basically we have fun. Then we work in 10 years laboring and doing the labor, and then we go 10 years entertaining, and we do the last 20 years barking at people. I know that was silly, but I think the years was a little bit messed up there, like 20 years um, working and 10 years labor. In the last 10 years, barking at people. I heard that the other day and I says, I will never be able to get this in the right order. I'm going to mess something up. And I did. So, what all does any of y'all have a good joke to tell? Oh, okay. What you eating? Wow. That sounds really good. Really, I said I had chili. I told, what's it called? I had that last night, and I actually called DoorDash and had a Whopper delivered today, so I had a Whopper meal for supper. Well, they charge a lot more just to have it delivered, but if I don't have a vehicle at the moment, you do what you do. You do what you can. But y'all be sure to look up Kayla White, since she is trying to get that law passed for Tate, Tate's law in Alabama, and maybe we need to have a Tate's law here in Tennessee as well. And just like Grayson's law before. Wow. Now, girl, even though I done ate a while ago, now all of a sudden my stomach's starting to growl just hearing about that. I love some Texas toast now, also. We used to have a barbecue place that, oh man, had the best chicken and pulled pork and everything, and they always served it with Texas toast. Now that business is closed and everything, sad to say, but oh yeah. So if y'all ever want to look me up or whatever, feel free to do that. And if y'all missed the first part of it, I started playing a song that I had written when an ex-boyfriend was cheating on me, and I called it Empty Promises. And a friend of mine from the UK went ahead and sang it for me. And so I've got the recorded version, and I played it at the beginning of this. Yes, it is super handy. I like that. Wow. I like adding turmeric to things. It's healthy. I'll let you have my coffee though, because I'm allergic to coffee. So y'all can have my coffee though. I have hot cocoa though, or hot tea. Yes. It's like, or I could play it again if y'all would like me to. So if y'all could hear it, if you want me to. Oh, okay. That's cool. That's awesome. I could go ahead and put it back. Okay, I could go ahead and do that. Kind of. Can y'all? Can y'all hear it? Dandelion. They make dandelion wine out of that too. Okay, let me see. Do it like this. Let's see. Hmm. Okay, let's see if it will let me this time. Okay. I don't know how it's going to do that if it's not doing. I don't know how to get that. Okay. Okay, audio right here. That's the audio. That's echo cancellation. I wonder if I put it automatically on stereo for a minute. I guess maybe. I don't know.
promises, believing all your lies, wanting me to sympathize with your lies, with your lies. I'm hoping to be loved, I'm hoping for romance, needed to be held and give a lover a chance. Well, I
Play the music or whatever I have on my computer. What did you hear it a minute ago? Oh, it was working? Was the song working? Oh man, I don't know if it was or not. Is it now?
I'm such a fool because I trusted you. Push my love, you push my empty promises, believing all your lies, wanting me to sympathize with your lies, with your lies. I'm hoping to be loved, I'm hoping for romance, needed to be held and give a lover a chance. Well, I'm wanting to be caressed, but with your empty promises, you crush my love. You crush my love. Thought that you were really smart. Oh, how you ripped my heart apart. Needing you so much, believing you love me so. You promised to be mine. How could I have been so blind? So blind. I was loyalty, but I'm alone again. You promised you would love me to set my soul free. If our love was true, how could you break my heart in two? I was such a fool because I trusted you. Pushed my love in my heart. You crushed my love. Thought that you were really smart. Oh, how you ripped my heart apart. Needing you so much, believing you love me so. You promised to be mine. How could I have been so blind? So blind. I was promised loyalty, but I'm alone again.
Yeah, I used to. I even written a Christian song a long while back, but my singing voice is not up to par at the moment. It's nothing like Lot Lips. Lot Lips got a lot better singing voice. I got bad allergies and everything, so I don't. I would do a disgrace to it, y'all, if I was to sing it. Oh, I just spilt my 7 Up all over me on my feet. But anyway, I want to thank you, every one of y'all. But I could please don't make fun of my voice right now because of my voice is just not up to par at the moment. But I could sing y'all the song that I wrote, the gospel song, if y'all want to hear it. One day I was walking the side of the road. I was a sinner. Sinner I was until I repented and was baptized. I then was a child of God. There is something that you need to be a Christian. You need to have love for your sister and brother. Love is a good rule if if you obey God's word. Thank you. I wrote, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Back when I was living through all that abuse and Um, I was held down and I had a baby that was murdered and everything from my evil stepmom and everything. But it's in the book, okay? It is in the book, okay? But I don't want to go there at the moment. But that's the only thing that pulled me through, thinking about God and His grace and His mercy and knowing that vengeance is the Lord's, it's not mine. He's going to deal with it. She died Independence Day this past year, and now she's got all my parents that did what they did, they're gonna have to face the repercussions of their behavior. I guess they got a millstone tied around their neck and thrown to the deepest of the ocean. Do what? Yes, that's why I just went ahead and said I'm giving it to God because it's too much for me to. It was too much for me to bear, you know. But anybody that needs a friendly ear or needs me, you can find me at Facebook or who's Charlene? Now there's not three of us because in my book, in my real life, I do have a twin sister. And see, I'm Darlene and she's Marlene, but there's not no Charlene. I was like, Lord have mercy, not three of us. No, not three of us, Lord. Man, can you imagine that? But me and my twin, we look nothing alike. We act nothing alike. And I disowned her also. And she is not a very good person. Well, you can say two out of three ain't bad, you know. I really like that song. I'm sorry, I've got a cookie sense of humor, y'all. That's right. That's right, we are. All right. Well, thanks you all for coming and sharing this time with me. I really appreciate it. Feel free to come on anytime. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, I love Team Rose. I love that is Merle and William. That's another creator here at YouTube. Team Rose. Okay. I really love her sense of humor when I go to her page, and I did not know that much about her till Aaron said so much. So I learned about her through him, and so I subbed to her as well. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoy, especially having communication coming on here and being able to talk. And if y'all got any other ideas, tomorrow night I'm going to have a guy that he did a crime years ago. He was sold. His own mother sold him and sold his brother for so that for to support her drugs. And then he got into gangs and everything, and he was accused of a crime he didn't commit, but he had to spend jail. And anyway, now he's got programs out there trying to help change convicts' lives and stuff where they can go and they don't try to get back and go back to jail and stuff where they can learn trades and stuff. They know some things that they can do without doing a crime, or they can be helpful in society. So I'll be having him on tomorrow night. And I'll say, God bless everyone. And thank you so much. Next time I'll be asking y'all to come up with a joke. Okay, bring a joke with y'all now. It's y'all's turn. All right. God bless.